was looking for. She was the first song I ever said, but it's not as soon as it began. Our love is over. It's all because of you. far. Nothing can make me move. He said you must be talking far.
You're listening to the Leaf Report with the Athletic TOs Jonas Siegel and James Myrtle.
Good work, Andrew. Should I sit beside you, or? Yeah, I think so. It's not like in a stadium where you got to leave a space. There's lots of room.
All right. Well, thank you all you guys for coming. When we started this thing, I think it was just because James and I really just wanted to. I actually don't know why we started. I think
It was a lockout.
It was the lockout, and we just needed something to do, maybe something to talk about. I don't actually remember.
TSN was paying you to cover the Leafs, and there was no Leafs. Yeah, it was 2012.
So what did we talk about?
You were like, the radio studio is empty every day. Why don't we do a podcast? It's like, okay. And like nobody was listening to it. And we didn't really have any designs on anyone listening to it. We didn't figure out anyone was listening to it until like a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
And then we were doing these puck talk shows here, and afterwards I would go out in the crowd, and people would all come up and say, do more podcasts. And I was like, people are actually listening to this?
Well, so we apologize for not doing it more frequently, and we are not good with the
everything.
Andrew, who introduced us, is the only reason we can actually even get this out. But we're working on it. We're working on it. So the podcast and this event is obviously brought to you by Puck Talks, by the Socky Hall of Fame. That's the new stuff.
They're right over here.
It's awesome with Bad Sox. Formerly.
Socky Hall of Fame is going to be giving away the first subscription ever. Someone in here is going to win the first subscription ever to the Socky Hall of Fame. So
that's pretty good. And the beer today, Caribou, which 5% of their proceeds sales go to charity. So that's pretty awesome. And that's what I'm drinking. James can't drink beer. I don't know if anyone knows that. All right, so we're going to spend most of our time doing the podcast talking about the captaincy, since that is the only thing that really matters.
I think the whole first half hour is the captaincy.
Is it bad? Is it? Okay, we're not going to talk about that. What do you want to start with? This is usually actually how it goes. I write down some topics, and James like, what are we going to talk about when we've started? And then like maybe just look at the list of stuff that I've written down.
Yeah, I didn't look at it.
Yeah, so,
I don't know what's on the list.
Well, so the first thing, maybe we'll talk. I don't know. Do you want to talk about? I talked to Mike Babcock today, so I don't know if you want to talk about anything.
Expectations heading into camp. Well, camp's already started.
Okay, well, there were medicals today. I don't think anything
what else we got?
Happened.
Things we will be watching.
No. You're not supposed to say all the topics.
All right,
Where do you want to start?
So you talked to Mike. You talked to Mike Babcock one-on-one. I think that's the first time you've talked to him one-on-one on the record since he's come to Toronto.
That's true.
The access to Mike Babcock has been super tightly controlled ever since he came to Toronto. He just does his little scrums. A lot of times they're like 2 or 3 minutes, and it's hard to have a real conversation with him. Did you find that it was useful having a real conversation with the coach?
Yeah, I think I did.
So we went to the Leafs. We went to the Leafs this summer, and we requested we want to meet Mike Babcock at his summer home, where he's like hunting elk and whatever he does, and like sitting at the beach. We wanted to send Jonas to wherever it was, like Buttfuck, Saskatchewan, wherever his lake house is, and the Leafs said no. So what they said is, well, you can talk to him for 10 minutes on the first day of camp. So that's what we got. It's up on The Athletic now, the interview. Do you think you were able to grill him enough to? Did you make him crack?
I think I got some interesting stuff. Like the tough thing to kind of give you guys like background in how these things work is like they tell you you're gonna have 10 minutes, and it's like I've got 55 questions I want to ask him, like any of you guys would if you got to talk to Mike Babcock. And so I'm like, what should I ask? And like, what's the order I'm going to ask? And like, are they going to wrap it up while I'm like, well, I've not asked this question that I really want to ask. So like, I thought something interesting that I said to him that I've always wanted to ask him was about Zaitsev. And he kind of filled me in a little bit on like what he sees in Zaitsev that myself, James, and probably a lot of you guys don't see. So like that's yeah. So he actually his answer was interesting. So you can check that out.
His answer was that Zaitsev breaks the cycle, and that's why he likes Polak too. That's why he liked Polak too.
Right. And so anyway, like what I've learned from Babcock is he's not just kind of the character that you see. There's a lot more to him, and like we've talked when it's not like a scrum or it's not on the record.
Yeah, he sees your tweets and comes up to you and yells at you about them.
That's not totally true.
It's not totally true. There wasn't yelling.
It's partly true. Okay, so expectations heading into camp. We can't really talk about that. So should we talk about the captaincy? No, I'm just kidding. All right, so maybe we should start with.
Put this down and just talk about it.
No, I need to. So let's talk about a little bit about Tavares. Maybe that's going to be obviously a big story, a really interesting focal point for the season. Are you actually? Maybe I'll ask it this way: do you think that it'll end up sticking the way it is, where Marner plays with Tavares, or do you see a situation where, I don't know, 20 games in, we're going to see this all jumble and it's not going to be the way we expect?
Well, the interesting thing with Mike Babcock is he really hasn't changed his lines very much, right? Like, we've seen him come right out of camp, first game of the season, and have lines, and then stick with those for most of the season before. So it's, you know, some coaches, Carlisle used to seem to change his lines all the time. Ron Wilson used to change all his lines all the time in game, and Mike Babcock doesn't, like...
It's funny, actually, you should say that. I remember, and I don't know if I should mention this, but whatever. I remember Howard Berger came up to me one time and he said, no, you shouldn't care about the lines. They change like every day. And I thought to myself, I think they probably matter a little bit more. But anyway, continue.
So what I was gonna say, I think Mike Babcock spends the off season really thinking about what his lines are. Like, I think a lot
like probably all of us do.
But like a ton of thought goes into it. So when they first came out of the first camp and they had Hyman and Matthews together, and all of Toronto and all the sports talk radio was like, what the hell is he doing? He had thought about that for months. He had thought about that probably for years, because he watched Zach Hyman play in college.
Years.
I think decades.
When Austin was a baby, he was thinking about it?
Yeah. He saw Zach Hyman at 7 years old playing in the...
That guy's going to play with Austin Matthews.
Yeah, that's what he...
But actually, one of the questions I didn't get to ask, because I ran out of time, is I was going to ask him why, after 2 years, it was finally the time that Zach Hyman wasn't going to play with Matthews. I just didn't get to it. I'll ask it during camp.
You know what I think? You know why I think they're putting Hyman with John Tavares? Because I think he thinks Zach Hyman is the perfect kind of player to play with John Tavares.
Well, and when I was kind of thinking through them getting Tavares, that was actually one of the things that I thought about when I wrote a story for The Athletic, was it makes sense to have a guy like that who goes and gets the puck back to play with someone like Tavares, who kind of plays like a hard...
And also generates a lot around the net.
Right.
Because if you watch Tavares' highlights, and I've watched a ton of them since they got him with the Islanders, he's always generating a lot from the circles down. He's always creating all kinds of openings for everybody else. There's a reason why Kyle Okposo got the big contract he did, and Anders Lee got the big contract he did, and you know, he really generates a lot, not just for himself, but for everybody. He creates a lot of open ice and a lot of opportunities. He's going to do that for Zach Hyman. I don't think it necessarily matters how good of a finisher he is, especially with Marner on the right side.
Well, and so what's going to be interesting then, I think, is, you know, I've heard from Austin Matthews. He told me he wants to generate more assists. You would think now playing with Marleau and Nylander, like, I don't know. The one thing
it's a better shooter. They got Marlowe's a very good shooter.
Obviously, one of the best shooters ever.
Right. So now they've got two amazing shooters with Matthews, so he can distribute more, and then you're not shutting him down.
But see, you and I think, talked about it during the summer, and I thought it would have been interesting if you kept Marner with Kadri and you played Tavares with like Brown and Hyman. Just so like you really, really, really stuck it to the opposition, where you basically said, pick what you want. You want to go against Marner and Kadri? Okay. You want to go against Matthew and Nylander? Okay. And Tavares, like, on his own, is a threat on his own line. Like, I could see that happen.
You know what? I never thought about it, but Kadri's probably there, like, come on. Like, the second half of the season that he had with Marner was unreal. Like, that was one of the best lines in the league.
He scored, for Toronto's sake, like, the quietest back-to-back 30 goals.
They had great chemistry.
We don't ever talk about like he's had 2 straight 30-goal seasons. In Toronto, we pump up everything.
So you're saying like, or could the line switch? Absolutely. Like if it, if he doesn't see what he likes,
all be completely changed.
Yeah, it'll be completely changed on Saturday in Niagara
Marlowe
Falls.
will be playing with Kadri and I don't know. Is there anybody like going into camps that you took away my schedule and I don't know what to talk about now?
It says
Nylander?
It says Nylander. That's all it says.
Okay, well,
there you go.
Hang on a sec. Is there anybody like? I think what's interesting. Actually, I'll give you a question. If you had to pick between like a guy at camp or this season being a bigger breakout, would you choose Kapanen or would you choose Janssen?
Janssen. I think Janssen. Yeah.
I do too. But it's almost like because he was a first round pick, because he was like the key piece in the Kessel trade, key piece. Was he the key piece? First round pick? Yeah. Whatever. He's kind of got more of like a name, but I think
Kapanen's super flashy too. Like
and really fast.
He's really fast. He gets those breakaways and he has those moves and he scored highlight reel goals. But I like what Andreas Janssen did at the end of last year and in the playoffs more than what Kapanen did. They put him out on the power play unit and he made a huge difference. Like it's not very often a guy comes up from the AHL, plays 9 games in the NHL, and then you see him on the power play unit making that unit better. Well, he was with the Matthews unit, wasn't he? And he was making that unit better, which had struggled for a long portion of the season. So Justin Bourne, who we're going to have up for the third segment, third act, Jake was making fun of the fact that I said there were 3 acts.
It sounded like Shakespeare or something.
Yeah, I like Shakespeare. So we're gonna do 3 segments. We're gonna have breaks in between, so everyone can drink more beer. And
podcast brought to you by Saki Hall.
But what I was gonna say is that when Bourne, Saki Hall fam.
That's what usually happens. I have to remind myself to mention stuff. So you took away the sheet.
It says Nylander. That's all it says. What I was going to say is that Bourne is the biggest Andreas Janssen fan alive. Like, he was talking about him when he was 9 years old in Sweden. And
I did a story for TSN about him, I don't know how long ago.
Well, he was 2013 draft, 5 years ago.
It was maybe like the next year, it must have been 2014. So, there's always been, this buzz with him. But, he can do a lot. I can see him playing with any of those top centers.
I think he can be a 20-goal, 40-point guy if he plays with one of the better centers. And
the
other thing too is that
skilled.
So in your interview with Babcock, he said that Kadri's going to get the tough minutes at home.
Yeah, actually, we should talk about that. That's interesting.
Andreas Janssen's good enough defensively; he can play on that line.
Well, it'll be Brown, Janssen, and Kadri.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting.
And but that bumps Kapanen into the fourth line.
But so you guys all know this, and we've talked about this. The advantage of having Tavares just means for that alone, home ice, Kadri will take tough matchups, and that means either Tavares or Matthews is getting third pairs, which is a crazy mismatch. To finish that point, we've seen the last couple of years what happens when Bozak and Van Riemsdyk get those matchups. Tavares is a little better.
Well, not only that, but what we've seen in the salary cap era is that a lot of teams have really given money to their top 4D, and their third pair is not very good on a lot of teams around the league. So they're going to really be able to expose teams. And Babcock's such a good line matcher. I noticed watching in the arena more than on TV, as soon as that fourth line of the other team, or as soon as that third D pair is on the other team, and the Leafs have an offensive zone draw, it's one of their weapons is coming out to take advantage of that. So there's going to be a lot of that.
Who do you think is going to be on the fourth line? Center.
Par Lindholm.
Yeah, he really seems... be careful.
Babcock mentions Par Lindholm.
Be careful about...
So I was listening to his Babcock's audio from training camp last year, and he was talking up Miro Aaltonen over and over and over again.
That was a manufactured story, and I did not fall for
But you know what the direct quote was? Miro Aaltonen's going to play in the NHL. It's just a matter of when. And then it's no, he's not.
No, he just didn't like Dom Moore.
He did not like Dominic Moore.
Which is fine. Do you think... Actually, one of the names, and I haven't thought about this a lot, and I should have, and actually it was in your preview for The Athletic. Do you think Josh Levo will be here, let's say, on November 1st, or do you think he'll be playing somewhere else?
I think he's going to be somewhere else.
I do too.
Yeah, I think they're going to... What I heard is that they told him you're not going to be in limbo this year. That's what I heard.
Good.
Yeah, the sitting in the press box is over for Josh Levo. They're going to... he'll either get waived and someone will claim him, or they'll trade him, or...
The shitty thing for him is he hasn't played in
Yeah. What trade value would a guy like that have?
He's 25, 24,
25. He's 25.
25. You haven't played in 2 years. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
They shouldn't have
Hopefully-
signed that contract.
No, they should not.
Would they sign in December or something? And we were surprised because he had barely played.
Yeah, and I remember being completely befuddled. But like, honestly, I think Lamoriello gave me the impression that it was going to change, which you should not be that gullible.
The crazy thing about Josh Lebo not getting a chance this year is they don't have anybody else
But
challenging.
you know what? And there's been this perception that it's Mike Babcock's fault. He doesn't have to play him. They just didn't have to keep him. They didn't need to keep him that whole time. That's the problem I had with Lamoriello. Just waive him. It's clear Mike Babcock, who signed to an 8-year contract, does not want to play this guy.
And I think that could happen.
Bounce him.
I think that
Give
could
him a
at the end of
chance.
camp they could waive him and then.
And that's, I think, will be a difference with Kyle Dubas. Are you really excited that players are going to have facial hair? Isn't that exciting?
That was a headline everywhere today.
Was it?
Yeah, that was actually when I go in.
Should I write about it for the
When I
Athletic?
look at trending topics on Twitter, it was number one. It was the top thing, and it had a picture of Kadri with a beard. And I was like, "Holy cow!"
He shaved it for today.
Oh, I didn't see him.
Should I do a story?
No,
I don't deep dive on who has
that's not
beards
going
and
to
who
sell.
doesn't?
That's not going to sell any subscriptions.
I don't know. You never know. Nylander.
I wanted one guy to come with just like caveman facial hair.
Who do you think would have the best beard if you had to pick?
Well, it might be Kadri. We know Marlowe can grow a crazy beard.
Oh,
He
yeah.
used to in San Jose. With like
Freddie
crazy.
Anderson, since it's red.
Oh, that makes it better. You're biased. You have a red beard.
So, Nylander's not in camp right now. There's a chance, like, while we're recording this, they could sign a contract. And we'll just have to cancel the show and go write about it. Do you think it's a big deal? Because the more I've thought about it, I don't think it's a big deal. It's important, obviously, the contract they sign him to and everything like that. But the fact that he's not there today,
What if he misses all of camp? Is that a big deal?
Is it, when we're looking
He might
back
be
at,
behind.
Yeah, but if we're looking back at this 2 years from now, is it going to be a big deal that he missed 2 weeks of camp?
What if he has a bad year? What if he misses all of camp and has a bad year? I'm just throwing a lot of hypotheticals at you.
I don't even know if we can connect those dots. Like, he's not going to have a bad year. He's too good.
I think that contract's going to get signed. I still do. I think it's going to. I saw there was talk that he asked for $8 million. I find that very hard to believe.
I doubt that. But
If the Leafs say we want you for 8 years, then maybe he's going to ask for $8 million. That might make sense.
I guess if you're him, you can look at Draisaitl and you can say his
Yeah.
numbers are basically the same as mine.
Right.
He played with a great center. I played with a great center.
Michael got 10. I mean, like the young guys are getting a lot of money right now. And the cap went up a lot.
I was thinking about writing this, but I'll ask you about it. Actually, we've talked about it, so it's not like it's crazy or anything. But do you think it's risky at all that they haven't signed Matthews or Marner? Not Nylander. That's obviously going to get done. But like, I think there's some risk in not doing it sooner rather than later. Just because, like, I think Marner could have 95 points. I think Matthews.
What if Matthews wins the Hart?
That's the thing.
What if they have a big playoff
Like, that is
behind
not a crazy scenario. Like, both these things are not crazy. They could happen. And then what? Like, then what's he worth?
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, and from Kyle Dubas' standpoint, he's thinking like, if I can save X amount here and
I
here
think
and here.
what you're seeing right now is Brandon Pridham and Lawrence Gilman have really high roles in the front office. Lawrence Gilman's known in Vancouver for being able to like squeeze those contracts down a little bit and getting everybody to take a little bit less. And William Nylander has one of those agents who I've talked to. He's a really shrewd negotiator. So you've got two really smart, well, more than two. I mean, because obviously the Leafs have more than one person on their team, and Louis Gross, the agent, has more than one. You've got these very shrewd negotiators that are just battling it out right now. And without arbitration to force them to a deal, they're having a hard time compromising.
See, you know what? The more I think about the way, and this is not.
This is the way it should be. I mean, if
No, it's not. Like, it's kind of bullshit for players. You get put into the system where basically the team, William Nylander's only recourse is to not show up for camp, right? And if he doesn't show up by December
this year,
1st,
though.
yeah, but
Just
if he
this year.
right, but if he doesn't show up by December 1st, he can't play at all. So like the team has all the leverage
for 1 year. This one
This is
year,
so his only option then is to
he
sign
should
a
just
1-year
sign
contract.
a 1 year deal for like if it gets that bad
But-
and he really wants to play, sign the 1 year deal. You got arbitration rights. Have a huge season. You go into arbitration, you get a big number. That's how.
It's just a shitty system. I don't know what's better, but it's not fair.
Yeah.
Like, not only do you not get to choose where you play, like you're forced into this.
It's this weird little 1 year window where guys out of their entry level contract don't have arbitration, and it happens a lot that players like this hold out. or don't get a contract. Like it's very common.
If you were Dubas and like Nylander put the check across the check, like he's going to give him the whole money right away.
Some of the signing bonuses
just
are like
play
that.
along. So he gives him the check.
Tavares got like $15 million.
You
up
fill
front.
it out. You tell me the years. You tell me the money, and I'll take it. What would you put?
What you?
I'm Nylander, and I go to you, Dubas, and I say, "Here's the check. You fill it out however you want."
The Dubas puts whatever he
But
wants.
you're obviously going to be fair. Like, let's not be stupid. Don't put $1.
We can't put $1. The league minimum's like 600 and something.
Okay.
I think that the fair deal for these two sides to come together on is like 6 by 6.5 or something like that. I think that that's like the compromise position. I don't think either side loves that contract, but
I agree because I'm high on, like, obviously everyone would be high on Nylander, but I don't think, like, I think his floor of what he is
pretty high.
is worth that right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, like, I just don't think there's that much.
So if you're the player and the agent, you might say, we don't want to do a long-term deal. We only wanted to do a 2 or 3 year deal, and then we're going to hit that home run, you know.
Yeah. That's what, like, I think I posited to you on one of our podcasts. Like, that would be interesting if, like, one of the really good players like Matthews did that. Because that's what they do in basketball, like we've talked about endless times.
But to answer, yeah.
So what would so you'd fill out 6 years by
6.3 or 6.4 or something in that range. It might end up costing them more than that if they want to get the 5 or the 6 year deal done. But to go back to what you were talking about with Matthews and Marner, there's a huge risk there for sure.
No, and that's but like,
that's why I would try and get those done too if you can.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not. I think
I just don't know what the upside and I don't know what they're asking, but like I don't know what the upside is in pushing it to next summer.
But if you're the player side, you're probably saying no, we want to wait.
Well, and I actually went back and looked at like the last, I think it was the last 10 number 1 picks to see when they got signed, like if they all got signed a year out or like before that summer. And I think it was like 6 of the 10 got signed before. Like, you don't see this a ton where a guy like Matthews...
You mean a year before.
A year before.
Right.
Or even 6 months. Like, Ovechkin signed his, I think, in January before he was up. So, like, you don't see it a ton with guys of Matthews' caliber, like Crosby, Malkin, Ovechkin, all signed before.
I think that could definitely happen. I think it could happen during the season. Why not?
Like, could happen tomorrow. Could happen now. That would suck. Hopefully they don't do that.
We just end the show and run out the back door.
We'll just pull up the conference call and just play that.
We'd have something more to talk about than Neil.
You're in charge now. You got the list.
You want to go on to the next thing?
Yeah, the D pairs.
Yeah, next thing says D pairs. Yeah.
So another question I didn't get to ask, and I think I know the answer, so it's probably good I didn't ask Babcock. Do you expect? I don't think that the top 2 pairs are gonna change. Do you think they will at some point? Like, I wanted to know from Babcock how you can think that, I think he's 38, 37 or 38, 30, whatever. Old Ron Hainsey can hold up again playing 20 minutes a night, again killing 5 penalty minutes a night. Like, it just doesn't seem feasible at all.
No, and I think part of what we saw in the Boston series is that Hainsey was like...
He's 30, whatever.
We saw him after some of those games, and he had nothing left. We're there in the first round. They're in the first. I remember being.
We were so tired after the first round.
Being in the dressing room in Boston, looking at, like Ron Hainsey looked like death. And I don't know what game was it? Game 5?
What did you look like?
Yeah, well, we were tired too, but that's because we had to drive from Boston to Toronto in between games. Mark Masters.
drove.
Mark Masters can recount that journey in the next segment.
Yeah, you guys were gonna wait for flights, I think. What game was that after? 2? Game 2. I think no one said. Or no, it was Masters back there.
Yeah, so game 1 and 2 were in Boston, and then every flight out of there was canceled. And people were like doing things like taking a train to New York and trying to get in a flight. And
it was like planes, trains, and automobiles.
People were, yeah, it was, yeah.
You were, I can't remember the character's name. So the D pairs.
I'm not John Candy, I know that.
Am I Steve Martin?
I don't know.
I guess I'm Steve. No, you're probably Steve Martin. I'm probably John Candy. In that scenario. You're a little crustier with those things than I am. But so do you expect it to change at some point during the year? I think the problem is there's just not a lot of options. Like, there's not a lot.
We've talked about this a lot this summer. What do you do on defense? Does someone have an idea? What should the Leafs do on defense other than have Ron Hainsey on the top pair?
See, Dermott, I think, is an interesting one.
Well, if you're going to try it, now's the time to try it.
Well, that was what I was going to ask Babcock. I don't think he will.
No, I don't think he will either.
I think he should.
I think they should try something.
Just to give yourself options. Like, if you could have your top pair, and I don't know how comfortable they are with Dermott playing the right, but if you went Riley, Dermott, Gardner...
Then all of a sudden your second, third pair.
Gardner, Zaitsev, and your third pair is like Rosen, Hainsey, or whoever. Or Hainsey, Carrick, or whatever. It's a little better. I don't know. The thing is, like, the important thing, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, it doesn't really matter what the D is today. It matters what the D is April, whatever, when the playoffs start.
Well,
and I can't imagine if it's a problem that they don't go into the trade deadline and try to find somebody.
But I don't know if anyone's going to... Like, what happened last year is there wasn't really anyone available to go get. You know,
I think
Pierre LeBrun said that
if
if Ryan Ellis would have made it to free agency, the Leafs would have been all over that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Carl. The problem with Carlson...
Should we talk about Carlson?
We should talk about Carlson, yeah. So Carlson...
What a deal, eh?
I think everyone in here knows what happened, right?
Good deal for Ottawa, huh? I feel so bad for them.
It's a good deal for Leafs fans. Let's put it that way. It's a very good deal for Leafs fans. I was thinking about this the other day. You look at the Atlantic Division. Detroit is terrible. Ottawa is terrible. Montreal is a mess.
But Yzerman's going to be running Detroit.
Yeah, okay, but like for the next... So like the top three teams in the Atlantic make the playoffs. Three of them are brutal and have no chance of making the playoffs. Buffalo's probably going to be a little bit better.
Yeah.
Florida could be okay. But like basically, like you're going to make the playoffs. Like the chances of the Leafs missing the playoffs are very, very, very low.
Oh, that's not happening.
The chances of not finishing in the top three and like being guaranteed, you know.
I don't know if you feel the same way, and maybe some of you guys do too. It feels like watching what Ottawa is doing is like an extreme version of what was happening here. It wasn't that bad here, but it's like there is no plan. Like I was thinking, like I was talking
that year they bought out Grabowski and traded for Boland and traded for Bernier and signed David Clarkson.
But that in comparison to this looks okay. This is like think about this. Like I was driving back from the rink with Sammy Hoffman. He's a Finnish reporter. He covers hockey, he covers the NHL, covers the Leafs. And we were talking about it, and like if you're Ottawa at last year's trade deadline, you know Carlson isn't signing, right? That's clear. You should absolutely trade him then. Suck the rest of the year because you suck anyway. See what happens with your pick. If it's the first pick, keep it. If it's not the first pick, give it to Colorado. Trade Duchesne in the summer.
Should have given the pick.
Trade Duchesne in the summer. Suck this year and try to get Jack Hughes. Like one thing we talk about Shanahan a lot. They put the pieces in place so that they could be lucky to win Matthews. But like if you don't put those dominoes in place, like you are Ottawa.
If you don't have a coherent plan, if you don't have a coherent plan, you're in big trouble in the NHL now. Like you can't win by accident anymore. You can't. I mean, maybe we can argue Vegas did, but that's special circumstances.
Yes.
But I just
that was
like,
God.
you look at how good Tampa and Toronto are, and to a lesser extent Boston, and then you look where the other teams are in the Atlantic. It's like, holy crap! How are those teams ever going to catch up?
But it's like think of all the scenarios where it could have gone differently for the Leafs. They could have, if Shanahan wanted, they could have kept Kessel. Maybe Kessel scores 30 goals. Maybe they win a few more games.
Could have kept Phaneuf.
Could have kept Phaneuf. Maybe they don't get Matthews. And like the whole ball game is different. We're not talking about them potentially winning a cup for the first time in 50 whatever years. Right? Like it's really easy if you don't do it right to get into a situation where now you're Ottawa, you're going to suck again, and you could potentially lose the number one pick when it's going to be Jack Hughes, which is not that different from when the Leafs, it's a different situation, but when you lose Tyler Seguin.
So what's your over-under for attendance for the Senators this year? It's going to be so bad.
I feel bad.
I feel terrible for the Senators.
It's not going to get better.
I feel terrible.
But it's funny, like you could see this coming when they went to the conference final.
Everyone's coming up with their over-unders here.
How many is it?
11,000?
10. It's got to be a clean 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah,
He
that's a
says
good
the
point.
Leafs and the Habs fans are going to raise the attendance, so let's
Yeah,
say
that's
11.
true.
Let's say it's 11.
Man, it's hard to get out of that.
They need a new building. They need a new owner. They need a new GM. They need new players. They need a lot of. I like Ottawa.
What would be the
I don't want to see that team move.
What would be the equivalent of Melnick talking to Borowiecki? Would it be like, Larry Tenenbaum interviewing like
Polak?
Yeah, the same. That would not be a good idea. All right, what else is on?
What's next? Oh, it just says Nylander again.
Does it say the captaincy?
No. It says
You can
back.
skip backup goalie. We've talked about that a lot.
It doesn't actually. Oh, it does say backup goalie. So then it says the bottom of the lineup, the 6-7D, the fourth line.
Scratch out PTOs.
It says PTOs, but there are no PTOs. And then it says who's got a shot. Who's got a shot, Jonas? Anyone out there have a shot?
Do you?
I could use a shot.
Apparently, you're pretty good around the net. I think you're tall.
No, I mean like a bar shot.
Oh no.
Who's got a shot?
Do you know who would be interesting for me, just because he had a really good playoffs for the Marlies, is Calle Rosen. And obviously, he made the team last year. He was in the lineup, I believe, opening night.
I think he played 5 games. 4 or 5.
It wasn't that many, but like it was clear after a couple games that he wasn't ready. He was really good for the Marlies. He's really steady. It would have to take some shuffling of the D for him to
Or an
be
injury.
in the lineup, or an injury, or like Carrick not being very good at camp, or I don't know. I think he could be the 7.
Kyle Dubas says over and over and over again that he believes in the D that the Marlies had and thought they were really good, and that's why they won the Calder Cup. But
Be careful about that stuff, though, man.
I just wonder if
This is like what you got to be careful like what they say and what they do.
I think he believes that. I think he believes that some of those pieces on that Marlies D core can contribute to the Leafs.
That's true.
And I think it
But
could
it's
be.
not-
I think it could be someone like Calle Rosen or Borgman or
But it's
Justin Hall. It could
to
be
be-
someone that surprises us.
see, I'm curious about Hall. Like I could see him being a guy that Babcock doesn't like.
Yeah, probably. Talking to your mic.
Am I not? Sorry.
We're
Actually,
record-
this is the same problem we have doing the podcast, so it's not.
No, the problem we have doing the podcast at your house is we have one mic.
We don't do that anymore. You're lying.
Yes. Sometimes we just pass your phone back and forth
Actually, that's what we do. That's true.
while we drink cups of tea.
Yeah. James like something with caffeine because he's always tired. So is there anyone who comes to mind for you? Like, do you think Ozhiganov? Do you think like?
No, I forgot about him.
Trevor Moore, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, we're talking about Levo, and I don't know if we finished the thought, but there's not a lot of guys challenging for those bottom spots.
Come on, man, it ain't happening.
I'm not saying he's going to make it. I'm saying if not him, who? Who are the 13, 14 forwards on this team?
Anybody? Any options?
Anderson Lindholm.
Well, Ennis is going to be in the fourth
Grunstrom.
line. Grunstrom is going to play with the Marlies.
Grunstrom, Bracco, like all those guys, they're going to want them playing.
Yeah, but what did Bracco play? 4 games in the playoffs?
Yeah,
for the
he
Marlies?
needs another year. I think Grunstrom is potential. Ennis, yeah, that's
Ennis
for
will be on
sure.
the fourth
He'll be
line, but who's the 13, 14 forward?
Juris, maybe.
It could be 8D.
Yeah, there could be 8D.
I could see 8
Juris,
defensemen
yeah.
for sure. Didn't they start the year last year with 8D? Because they kept Rosen and Borgman?
Yeah.
So that could happen for sure. Well,
Sorry, but
hey, the GOAT got a shout out from Babcock today in the press conference.
Come
so
on, man.
he did.
I heard it. I was there.
I saw GOAT today and he walked
also
by and he had a
seen
big smile on his
What
face.
happens?
I think that means he's ready. He did.
Is he still 6'5"?
He was.
So then he's got a shot,
He was a
right?
big GOAT.
Is he taller than you? Or
No, he's about the same height. Yeah, but he was on skates.
he's better.
I wasn't wearing skates at the.
I just don't think that's happening. I think that ball game is
So we don't know who the 13th and 14th forward are.
no. That's,
Do we know who the 7th, 8th D would be? No.
No,
I mean, we kind of
that's
talked
another
about that.
competition. Yeah, that's the training camp competition. Maybe I'll write about that tomorrow. Who's going to be the 13th forward?
Yeah, there we go.
Exciting stuff.
There's a headline. All right, the last
That's
thing.
actually not that crazy. We could actually write about
Yeah.
that. Shut up.
Yeah. Okay, we got 3 minutes left, and
Okay.
then we're going to take a beer break. Can we get to the last one?
Yeah, so I should ask you this, because while Kyle Dubas was talking this morning, I was talking to Babcock, so I haven't heard what Dubas said today. Did you learn anything interesting?
No. Other than he said Tyler Ennis is going to replace Nylander with Matthews.
And no beards.
He kind of just, yeah.
Oh, beards are allowed, I mean.
But Kyle Dubas just kind of like threw that in there. Oh, and Ennis is going to get an opportunity with Matthews, and everyone.
That's
That's
on.
what he said.
I know, no shit what he's saying.
I know, but he just
they're
kinda-
just going to forget
Someone
about...
asked about Ennis, and then that's what he's going to play with Matthews. And okay,
Great. By the way, we should talk about this really briefly. I don't know if you guys saw what Lou Lamoriello said about Tavares. Did everyone see that? I don't like that stuff, man. That's you got some.
You know what
nerve
he's doing? He's playing to the fan base. That fan base. I don't know. Have you guys read the comments on the Athletic on any Tavares story we do? It is like Islanders fans are lighting the comment section on fire, and there's like burning. It just said snake in capital letters and stuff. And
what did he do?
They
that
were
was wrong. I don't know.
You wrote this nice story about John Tavares' parents, and all the comments from our Islanders fans are like, "I didn't know a snake had parents," and like it's just like it's so nasty. The Islanders, and we didn't even like tag it Islanders or anything. They just find the Tavares stuff and they just like hate and they vote it down. They hit nah, and then the ratings and all your stories are all really low. And
see, I understand being like
the Islanders fans are like that game when you go there and the Leafs play in.
Killed.
I don't know. They better have extra security around John Tavares because like some those people are like lunatics.
I have a hard time with that stuff.
It's way over the top.
Like I'm a Raptors fan. I didn't hate Chris Bosh when he left to Miami. I'm like, I kind of get it. Like he played with LeBron.
The decision.
Okay. Yeah, like I get it. This like I just don't get how you can be mad at him. Like he stayed for 9 years. They were bad 6 of the 9 years.
Management and ownership with the Islanders blew that so badly.
I just think Lamoriello
you have to go to the player and say at the trade deadline, son, here's your contract.
That doesn't happen in hockey. That happens a little bit in basketball. It doesn't happen in hockey.
They had to force a decision.
Yeah.
At some point.
I just think like Lamoriello, like man, you're a one to talk.
They had to know when Tavares is doing that whole dog and pony show in LA and talking to every team.
Yeah, but like
that there's like a decent chance he leaves.
But there's a decent chance he stays.
I know, but
would you be saying this stuff if he stayed? That's great, he stayed, but we haven't won anything. Come on. I just don't like that stuff. I thought Lamoriello did a poor job in those comments. I just don't think that's.
Yeah, well, I just think he's reading the room that the Islanders fans are like,
because they're going to be bad, and so like now you're playing.
Well, they got
trumping. He's doing
Trump. They got Uncle Leo and Matt Martin, and Uncle Leo's going to light a hat trick up on the Leafs when they play. All right, I think that's the end of the first segment. Thank you for coming. Get a beer, and we'll be back in 15 minutes. needs a beer? I got 4 beers. Anyone, who wants a beer? Here, grab a beer.
It's Caribou. It's good. All right. So welcome back to the podcast.
Yeah.
Brought to you by the Stocky Hall of Fame.
All the lights are on.
Woo!
So we have a special guest to bring out.
Yeah, he asked for a theme song, so I'll play what he asked me to play.
Okay. Yeah, here
All
we
right,
go.
ready?
Here we go. Here we go. Middle. Mark, I love that you wore your costume. This is Mark Masters from TSN, and the reason
They know who I am.
Big DMX fan.
And you're welcome.
the reason he's dressed like this is because he's always dressed like this.
No, that's not true. He came straight from the ring.
He's been at the
Some of us
ring.
were working today.
What time did you get there this morning?
6 a.m.
Are you serious?
You're lying. You didn't get there. What time? You probably got there at like 8, 7?
8:30 today.
Did you have a live
Usually
hit?
it's about an hour before the game.
Live hit?
No, what? Okay, we're crazy, but we're not that
You
crazy.
come on. You
We
do
do
live
not-
hits
we're
at
doing
7
live
a.m.
hits. Yeah, on trade deadline day is
Yeah,
different.
this is way different.
The thing that
5 a.m. in the West Coast that one year.
so you were there
That was fun.
8:30 until when did you leave? You probably
Right
were.
when I came here, 6:30.
Yeah, that's a long day.
Yeah,
I left
some of
about.
us work that way.
I think I left at 11:30.
Do it for the fans.
Masters Nation? Is there any Masters Nation?
It's the whole crowd. You're welcome.
It's
The
wait,
tickets were down in the toilet before I got announced as a special guest. So you're welcome. And
it's so funny because Mark does the stand-up on TSN, and you got to be kind of straight-laced and everything. But in person, this is actually what he's like, and he's probably the funniest guy on the whole beat. So we got stuck in a car with him for a 10-hour drive from Boston, and it was you were the comic relief.
Yeah.
You were in the back seat, right?
Yeah, it was my first appearance on the podcast. Do you remember my big contribution? They had just, well, yes,
McDonald's.
that was
Steamed
Steamed
ham.
Steamed hams.
White flies coach?
Sorry?
Yes.
Yeah. The way
She's here. Robin. Where's Robin?
she's flying coach backstage.
She's at the back.
Oh, she's back there. Okay.
Yeah, she's back there
All right.
somewhere. Supporting me. But
I love how that
As
is.
always.
How long ago was that? Like 2 years ago? 3?
much longer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was...
You're never going to live that down.
No, I get that everywhere. I
You
go
shouldn't.
to
It was
Paris
terrible.
for the French Open, and the French, oh, Mark,
who's the guy who left his wife in the kettle?
and that
was you.
And you guys all laughed it up, and he was using you and me. He admitted it in Craig
Okay.
Gustafson's book. Said that was
I don't
his
want to
distraction.
rehash old wounds, but
Yeah.
did she say, "Yeah, go ahead, honey"?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
You can ask her.
That's
She's
what my
at the
wife
back.
would do too. So,
Yeah,
you're
the
tired,
The jerk
you
move
know.
is actually doing it and
Yeah.
not being nice and giving it to your wife.
I'm working X hours a day, bringing quality Leafs content to the masses.
He's paying for all the.
Do I not deserve some warm nuts?
Yeah.
Do I not deserve to let my legs come
Do you want to
out?
know the truth about Mark in first class?
If it wasn't for that snake Chris Cuthbert, everyone would, it'd be fine. But
Mark-
my wife had to sit beside Cece.
Yeah,
and
but see, the issue is when Mark is in first class, Mark doesn't order a drink.
it's business class.
Mark doesn't get food. Mark sleeps the whole time.
I don't sleep in business
Yeah, all
class.
those free beers are Mark's because he won't drink them backstage.
Because I want to have a clear mind
Okay,
for the
well,
people.
yeah.
How do you think I have such a large following?
You're
Anyway.
You're just worried about what's coming in the next 10 minutes.
That's right, trivia.
Trivia.
Well, that's the only reason I'm here.
Trivia is coming.
I feel like this is like the Jimmy Connors U.S. Open. Give them what they want.
I feel like
They came here for
Okay,
trivia.
that's
taking
you hit
a-
your quota on tennis references. That's
When's tennis
Why?
talks? Is there such a thing?
you got to talk to Kevin
We're
about
gonna get that
that.
organized. Yeah.
Yeah, start the podcast.
But
and-
to be fair, you have taken an unfair brunt of the trivia criticism. It was a team. We lost.
We were humiliated.
So hopefully
equally.
today, so what we're going to do is we're going to bring someone up from the crowd in a little bit to be James's partner and go against Mark and myself.
Based on our car ride from Boston, he doesn't need any help. He destroyed us.
but I do.
2-on-1? Is that what you want?
At this point, I'm pretty sure your son would be better than us, based on his knowledge. But I do
we
want
did
to
have some questions that my son knew that I think you didn't get the one question.
You knew
right?
who Nirvana was. That was for sure.
Well, my son doesn't know that. My son doesn't know that. He's 3.
Yeah.
It
So
was
I'm
like
on
the
his
closest
same
planet
level.
to the sun or something. It was like some ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you got that wrong.
Listen,
All right, but wait. So before I get the trivia,
I want to make an announcement. I mean, that's the whole point I came here, is not to be on the podcast. Is I wanted a platform to speak directly to the people that wasn't Overdrive, right? Because obviously
they won't have you on.
We're not as hostile.
my non-trivia related appearances on Overdrive is not high, but obviously the people know that Jonas and I just love trivia. You know, I mean, if we could quit our jobs and just play trivia, we'd probably do that.
Except we wouldn't make a living because we suck.
Right, that's the problem, which we were exposed for. And I, after our second defeat to Brian Hayes and the O-Dog Jeff O'Neill, most
his name.
No,
He whose name must not be speaking.
It was mostly.
He's like
Hayes.
Voldemort here. Around here.
It was basically Hayes. O-Dog was wearing a helmet, but.
I was listening to my radio and screaming at it when you guys were up. And
I really wish you had been. Like, that's your text.
How didn't you know Tessa Bonhomme played defense?
I cracked under the intense pressure.
Did she send you?
I was the one who stood up and said, "I will do the shootout," and you were hyperventilating.
Okay, get to your announcement because there's enough lollygagging. What's your announcement?
The announcement is, after we lost our last trivia competition, I announced that I was walking away. And I was
It's like Barry Sanders right on top?
Yeah, not quite. But I just, I felt a little burnt out, I love trivia, and then losing and being humiliated like that.
Wait, the funny thing is, we actually, when the one time we did it on the road, which was in Nashville, which is why the whole thing started, we actually did come last on that too.
You're not helping, Jonas. So I was feeling pretty low, and I walked away, and I had a great summer. Reported at camp today in the best shape of my life. I don't know, man. I just tuned out trivia all summer. Didn't do any trivia, and I feel refreshed. And I'd like to announce today that I am returning to competitive trivia this season, in the hopes of winning back the belt from Brian Hayes and, a lesser extent, the other guy.
Voldemort.
Yes, and they keep saying they're going to take on Ray Furrow and Chris Cuthbert. I'm pretty sure that's never going to happen, just based on their travel schedule. So I think that bumps us up in the queue to the next one. So I'm sure they're watching this live on the stream. Didn't have the guts to show up, but Hayes and O-Dog, we're coming for you again. Jonas, I assume you're in. I didn't run it by you, but there you go.
Maybe you
We're
start
back.
a win streak here tonight, and that vaults you into the. Yeah.
Well, but
So
so
baby
wait,
steps.
wait.
I just said I haven't done it all summer.
So before we get to trivia, let's talk a little bit of Leafs.
Oh, yeah.
So you did. So, sorry if I was
Who?
knocking it, but you did a story today about the captaincy, and it's
The
not.
alternate captaincy. Jesus.
Don't, you're hurting yourself by saying that. It is a deal of some kind. Like, it's not completely meaningless. It's like explain why there's importance to it. Basically, explain your story.
Why does it matter? Why did my
Yes,
name today
that should be a
matter?
segment. You should do that for Sports Center. Why does it matter with Mark Masters? Today we're going to talk about beards. Why
That
does
was
it
a big
matter?
story. That could have been the story too.
Save that for later.
Well, yeah, there's lots of time. Training camp. I feel like we, go crazy on the first day. There's so many possible things you could do, and then it's like 3 days, and you're like, everything's been done. But
Especially when you're showing up in August to their
yes.
skates.
Yes, well, summer skates. Some of us have work ethic, Jonas. They're not harassing John Tavares' family, but
I love it.
I am there watching them skating in circles, looking good in scrimmages. I asked
This guy's here again, God. Why would he leave?
Babcock was razzing. I was like, "What are you doing here?" Like, actually got mad at me for wearing a suit. Or not mad at me, but
I watched one of your videos from there that was online, and
I knew it.
and you're like, no,
Ice chips.
You said no. Everyone declined to talk to me today, and you still did the video, which basically
These
said
videos
a
are
bunch of
getting
Leafs are
crazy.
skating around. None of them would talk to me. Mark Masters TSA. That was pretty much.
And that got more clicks than this entire podcast.
I was like, why
will
did
get
I click
listened.
on this?
Yeah, why did you? Because it's Leafs Nation. It doesn't have to make sense.
I
It
missed
just
you.
is.
I missed you.
All right, the captaincy.
So
the
tell me
alternate captaincy?
why it matters.
Why are we're going down the wrong hole here, aren't we? You
That's
think it
kind
matters?
of what the podcast is.
No, but
a
that's
lot of rabbit holes.
we should address it. Like it's not completely
This is my
meaningless.
day, James.
I asked Babcock about it. It's not totally.
He asked him.
It's not just the most important thing of training camp.
Well, it kind of is. No, it's not. Okay, so Drager broke it, right? I mean, it wasn't a huge. I don't think it was going to be the story. Obviously,
Easy with broke it. Like,
well, I
it's
mean,
not
that's the first time I saw it.
Actually,
This is not Watergate.
I have a funny.
You're sad that your one-on-one with Babcock was after his. You missed it. This close, Jonas.
Devastating.
It was on your list of questions.
Yeah, and,
Anyway, but Drager broke it.
as per usual.
I talked to Jonas after he did the one-on-one with Babcock after the.
Yeah.
I talked to Jonas. He's like, I got great stuff. He told me who the alternates are going to be, and it's like, yeah, that's already on Twitter.
And I'm like, oh no.
Life on the Leafs beat.
Forget it. Let's just not publish it.
If you thought about it, it just was tweeted. That's basically the Leafs beat. But obviously the captaincy is just kind of a mythical thing, right? I mean, especially for an original
I don't know if
six
it's,
thing.
is it mythical the right word?
Well,
it's not like
there's a magic to it,
it's
I
not
guess.
like a creature.
Well, yeah, I guess not.
Mythical
but
is that the right word?
I don't know. There's
mystical.
mystical,
Traditional.
there's something added to it. Like if the Leafs one day win the Stanley Cup, could happen. Someone's going to get the cup, right? So I mean, who's that person
Patrick
going to
Marleau.
be? And I've
Yeah,
heard you
Patrick
guys talk
Marleau.
about it.
Patrick
Patrick
Marleau.
Marleau. No, but who will accept it from the
Patrick
commissioner?
Marleau.
Well, right now he's an alternate captain because that was named today in a big news story.
Yeah, but you know what's gonna happen. Big news story.
Huge news story. It led SportsCenter on the day of the Carlson trade.
Was it on the top
No,
of the TSN
it didn't.
homepage?
It did not.
Was it on the top of the?
Okay, well, the Carlson trade is obviously
That's a little bit more
similar
important.
at the same time, but it probably would have been right up there. But why does it matter? To show of hands, do people care who the captain of the Leafs is? I think they no.
And
Yeah.
they're really dying about it in the room. They're like, "What are we gonna do?"
It's hard to see. It's pretty bright under these
There's
lights.
nobody
but
wearing the C. Who's
pretty,
in charge?
pretty sure 90% of the hands are up.
Yeah. Let's move. Let's
But
move.
wait,
let's
but
move
wait,
on.
wait,
No,
wait,
no,
wait.
Let's move on. Come on.
I'm not making fun. I actually want to talk about
4
it.
people said they wanted to hear about it.
But wait, I do want to talk about
That's my constituency.
That's
why we're moving on.
No, but one thing I thought that Babcock did say that was interesting is like
I'm just gonna drink over here.
he said he's
Some
going to
Caribou.
You guys dig a
He
hole.
said he
over
would
there.
meet with a leadership group. So maybe that's how it's a little different without a captain.
I guess he named a whole list of guys, right? Like he said,
Yeah.
there's layers of leadership and whatnot. But
Kadri.
Kadri was on the
Yeah.
list. He's been wanting that for a while. And Gardner was on that list, and Matthews was down below. I think there's a whiff of interest in it because how did last season end? Matthews and Babcock, were they on the same page? And then there,
This is how he's gonna get it back.
in his one-on-one story on that one-on-one interview that Matthews did with you, which I read on tsn.ca. Good to see it back. He said he would be open to it, right? Like he said he was ready for it if they gave it to him. He didn't poo-poo it, Sounded like a head nod towards like he would take it, he would want it.
Yeah.
And now he doesn't even have a letter. So I think a lot of people think he was going to get I thought he was going to get an alternate captaincy.
I
This year. No?
never thought that for a second.
No, okay.
Never.
I thought they were gonna get Matthews.
Because you're on record saying he'll be the captain next
All
year.
that's
Yeah.
going to happen is next fall they'll just name a captain. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Trivia time.
It's always trivia time.
Andrew,
right.
our
All right.
producer,
Thank you.
All
I need
right.
this water.
is going to be the MC. So we need someone to come up.
Who wants to do trivia with
And
me?
be James's
and
partner.
smoke these guys.
James is not very good.
Yeah, and
so he
Leaf
needs
jersey
help.
guy in the middle, right here.
It's an alternate captain jersey.
Is that Joffrey Lupul?
Joffrey Lupul, alternate captain.
I did email Joffrey Lupul and say I wanted to talk to him, and
glory days.
he
You
did
should have
not.
invited him to the podcast.
He did not respond. So I don't know if we're ever going to get the Joffrey Lupul story.
Let's meet this guy. This brave soul.
My wife bought me the jersey, so.
It's a nice jersey. Come on.
Sounds like a very nice.
support.
Lupo didn't do anything wrong.
My name's Tom.
What sort of background do you have in trivia?
Excellent background. Huge
Can we
Leafs
get someone
fan
new?
for my entire life.
I don't think we're doing a Leafs question.
So this isn't hockey trivia.
This won't help you at all.
Send me off the stage.
Our trivia is like random nonsense. That's what we do. I don't know why.
Actually, if you ask my friends who I'm here with, they'll say I'll probably be pretty good at that.
All right, here we go.
Uh-oh. You better bring your A game.
All right, Andrew. Bring
Wait.
Who's
Can we
first?
explain the rules?
Well,
Yeah, so
okay.
you can
all right,
explain the rules. You're the
yeah.
trivia guru.
I have to explain the rules?
Sure,
Yeah.
you're the guest.
No,
See?
you're a podcast.
Aren't we doing with steals?
I'm doing you a favor.
All right, listen up. Here's the rules.
Take control.
All
this
right,
even a
I gotta
TSM
rein this
I
in.
offered, just to clear the record, I offered to like run this whole segment, and they're like, "Oh, we won't do hockey trivia."
Tom, they're already
the capital
gone.
of Ecuador.
Down a rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, they're in trouble here.
All right, so we're gonna go with two teams: Team Jonas and Team
Why is it
Myrtle.
Team Jonas?
Because that's just it. They're the hosts. Okay, you were a guest. I was listening backstage,
special guest.
Masters.
Yes.
You got to be taken down a
Special
notch here.
guest,
Okay.
Right? You know, Team Jonas it is. Highlighted as
Wait, and
right
so we're going to
there.
ask 10 questions, and whichever team has the most points by the end of 10 questions wins.
Are we doing the steal?
We are
So
doing
get
the steal.
in the car. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so explain the steals, because I actually don't know what it means.
So we'll alternate who gets a question. You guys can have first question.
Thank you.
We'll take a knee, and you can have the first one.
Disadvantage.
If you-
Don't do it.
If you get it wrong, we get a chance to steal, and if we steal, we get 2 points.
Okay, and vice versa, because
But-
we could steal.
And you get about a minute to come up with your answer.
I don't know if I like the steal thing. I think the steal should just
That's
be
what we
1
did in the
point.
car.
I know,
I think
you
it should
ran
be
up
1
the
point.
score and it was over in 5 minutes, and we still have 10 hours
That's
to
good.
go.
Then we can go back to talking about the captaincy again after that.
Good. We should.
All right, ready to go? I would ask the crowd to keep score. Is that all right? All righty. Number 1. What is the name for a male bee that comes from an unfertilized egg?
This is us or them?
Tom's got this.
Can you
We don't
repeat
have
the
a
question? Use it in a sentence.
What is the name for a male bee that comes from an unfertilized egg?
Myrtle knows everything.
Pass.
Can we do that? Can we ask the audience? Does anyone in the audience
This
just
isn't-
raise your hand?
this
if you
isn't
know
Who
that.
Wants to Be a
Does
Millionaire.
anyone in this building know what that is?
Come on, let's.
Mr. B.
steal.
Mr. B.
Mr. B is incorrect.
It's better than pass.
No.
You throw a Hail Mary,
It's better
maybe
than pass.
Mr. B.
Your guys.
Okay, we're gonna say worker bee.
Not bad, but it's a drone.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's good.
All right.
0-0. We'll take it.
Which music? You guys are up. Team Myrtle. Team Tom.
Tom and Myrtle. Here we go.
Which
Yeah.
musician is often called the fifth Beatle?
Oh, that's easy. We did this in our trivia practice rounds.
Eric Clapton.
I think we
No.
did. Oh, I don't know this.
I didn't even know.
I know this guy's name.
All right, Jonas, you're a pop culture guy.
Yeah, it is easy. I know this.
You've got 3 seconds.
Wait, what? There's no time on this thing. You can't just bring in rules. I'll argue you come up with it. This is a disgrace. This is sexist. It's like the U.S. Open.
Are they going to get to 10 before the
Fifth Beatle,
show ends?
Jonas.
I can't remember. We did this in practice in Chicago.
Yeah, telling him that we practice trivia is not.
I think that's time. We found it. Pete Best.
Oh
Pete Best?
yeah, Pete Best. Pete Best.
That's embarrassing. Sorry.
This is why I didn't want to do it. These people, their idea of us is going down.
Hey, don't take it up with me. It's a trivia.
We're going with the
FYI.
crappy website question, so you're up.
Best was a Beatle. He wasn't the fifth Beatle.
You're a guest on this stage.
All right, you know what? I'm giving it to Tom.
Leave my partner alone.
Who says that?
Team Myrtle.
Eric Clapton was the fifth Beatle.
No?
Clapton.
All right, let's go. Keep going. Back to us.
How many humps does an Arabian camel have?
Come on.
Well, I know Sally the camel has
How many humps
two.
does a normal?
So Sally has 2.
An Arabian camel?
It must have 3. Right?
3 humps?
Maybe it's 1.
Wednesday is the 3rd day of the week. It's hump day.
Let's go 1.
1 hump?
1.
Ding,
One.
ding,
Final
ding.
answer.
No chance for a steal, guys. Sorry, that's 1 point
point.
for.
That was correct.
That was correct.
Yes! We're back! Myrtle Trails.
Yeah, we're gonna
Same
that
time,
one.
too.
What are we playing to 10?
Yeah?
No.
3.
We've done 3 questions. We'll do 10 questions.
What do we got here?
Whatever
audience?
shortens the game, I support.
1-0. The Grand Slam tournaments are the 4 most important annual events in which 2 sports?
Oh, we got this.
Tennis and golf.
You got it. 1-1.
We got like, what's a work of men be? This is what happened on Overdrive. The fix is in. Do you know Jeff O'Neill?
I do, yes, personally.
Interesting.
Where was the fortune cookie invented?
I actually know this. New York City. Final answer. No! Wait, he didn't say final answer! He didn't say final answer! We have to confirm. Are you sure? I guess we should talk it out here, because this is a live audience.
This is going to be the best part of the
They didn't come
podcast.
to have us whisper to each
What
other.
do you think it is?
I have absolutely no
I
idea.
thought it was New York City.
It's warmer than New York City.
I feel like San Francisco, maybe?
Do it. Do it.
San Francisco?
Final answer.
San Francisco, final answer.
Incorrect.
It's Vegas.
California.
Wait, they're not.
That's what I said!
Sorry, I ruined that one. No chance to steal, guys, but I had a feeling you weren't
Yes.
going to get it
Wait,
anyway.
what happened?
Where was
Did you
it?
have California there?
Wait, what?
California is the answer.
San Francisco's in California.
Okay, so do you
I
say
think they got it.
California or San Francisco?
We got the question.
We got it. It's
2-0. Move on.
All right.
No, we have one, actually.
2-1. I don't. That's a terrible. You get half a point for that question. Grand Slam.
Okay, 5 questions to go.
That is
2-1.
the
Move
one.
on. I nailed it.
The ancient Greek statue Aphrodite of Milos, maybe I'm saying that wrong, better known as Venus de Milo, is currently on display in what museum?
Hurry up.
Talking to the mic. Let's go. Embarrass yourself like us.
We're going to say it's the Louvre.
You got it. Right on. Woo! Wow. Was that Tom or Myrtle? I gotta know.
We knew that as well, by the way. We were going to say that. I mean, we didn't know if it was right, but that was our guess. 2-all? 2-2.
With 4 questions to go.
What was the first feature film originally presented with sound? You're not gonna get it.
This did come up in our practice too.
We all did, but we weren't really paying attention. We should never do trivia practice in a bar.
Is it Pinocchio?
Someone in the crowd actually knew that. I heard that.
Really?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, it's not Pinocchio's, so we don't know. There's like a really old version of one of these movies. I don't know.
You're way off.
The sound picture.
Pretty. No, that wasn't it.
Steel?
Steel.
Nothing. You can't.
Nothing.
No, don't
We
tell
have no
them.
answer.
Pay attention. It's your podcast.
Yeah. We don't know. We're just going to say Gone with the Wind.
That's not a.
The answer is the jazz singer. I did hear that
Oh,
out
who knew that?
Is that, what is that? Is
The
that a Charlie
jazz
Chaplin,
singer.
or what is that?
I guess that'd be a good movie to have
Wow.
sound. The jazz singer. Wouldn't want to see that in a silent picture.
there. You guys are up? Anthony Jerome Spud Webb retired from what professional sports in 1997?
Oh!
Basketball.
Damn
You got it.
You guys are in trouble here.
This is.
Audience,
Yes.
is the score 3-2? Is that
Not
right?
like momentum has swung.
1 question each. I think.
There are
You
2
wear
more
the C
questions
for your
remaining.
Tap, tap, tapping.
So you
That's
guys,
an easy question. Why are we getting all the hard ones? All right, go to the next one. Make
you
sure
got,
it's
you got an
easy.
easy one here. Maybe. Which team won the National Football League's first Super Bowl?
I don't know that.
First Super Bowl. Was this Joe? Was it Joe Namath? Was he guaranteed it? Was that him?
Could be. I don't know. It's Packers, Jets. Packers,
No,
Packers?
maybe it was the Colts.
Packers. It's got to be the Packers.
Packers?
Does everybody know, but we don't? Okay.
Just assume that they know.
Packers. Final answer.
You got it.
Yes.
We got a tie game here,
Bart
and
Starr?
there's
Cheese for everybody. I love it.
one question left here.
Myrtle did not expect
So wait.
to be in this situation.
It's 3-3. So if
Yes.
they get this, they win, and if we steal, we win, and otherwise
Wait,
it's
is
a
this the
tie.
last question?
There's
Yeah.
no shootouts.
I tried to tell you guys not to take first pick.
Okay, go ahead.
Game 7. The 2 best words in trivia.
What is the world's largest ocean?
Oh my God.
Pacific.
You got it.
Oh boy. Oh,
I told you we should have done Leafs trivia. Would have been way better.
Spud, biggest ocean,
So I had a good
Grand Slam.
I had a good Leafs trivia
Be
question.
very proud of
Can
yourself.
I throw a Leafs trivia question at you?
do it.
Who did the Leafs trade Ken Klee for? Which prospect? At a trade deadline. Who did the Leafs?
Somebody
don't look,
out there
don't look it
knows
up.
for sure.
Suglobov. Yeah, they know. Yeah, very good. Whoever knew that, someone back there knew.
Let's bring the Babsocks guys up here. They're,
No, it was someone out here knew Suglobov. Yeah, that's very good. All right. Well, thank you, Tom.
Wait. So the podcast is brought to you by the Saki Hall of Fame, Caribou, Puck Talks. Thanks, Tom. Thank you. And we're going to come back with Justin Bourne, and we'll take some questions if you have any from the audience. So we'll be back in like 15.
15 minutes, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. This is underwhelming.
They never wanna leave. Jesus.
Where are you, Jake? It is time for the Saki Hall of Fame. Woo! Jonas, what's your favorite sock of the Saki Hall of Fame that you've seen?
I actually haven't seen them all.
Didn't you? Well, what did you see like in the ones we posted?
I think I like Wayne, right?
Yeah, the Gretzky one. I don't think we didn't post the Gretzky one. Is it up on the site?
The Gretzky one is meant to be currently a secret, top secret. It's actually not a real
It looks amazing though when it comes out.
That's the one.
It might look amazing. I have no idea. It doesn't exist.
So you're not supposed to know the Gretzky ones that exist.
Okay.
Put your Twitters away. Put your Twitters away. No. I think the Bobby Clark is probably our strongest new face.
I would pick Lanny.
Because it's got the hair. That is a good one, right?
Lanny's
It's got
amazing.
the old school
Why does
hair.
Lanny have a helmet and no one else does?
So I'm gonna borrow this.
Mustache speaks for itself.
I'm gonna borrow this from a comment on the Athletic article. Is that someone said because Lanny wears his flow on his face.
I like
Wait,
it.
James, you have to introduce them. It's Jake and Tom.
Yeah, Jake and Tom, the
Saki Hall of Fame,
creators
Bab
of
Socks.
creators of Bab Socks. They have sold 400,000 Bab Socks. 400,000. That is ridiculous.
Well, it
When
is
you told me that number,
Mike Babcock.
when you told me that number, I was like, what?
Yeah, I mean,
400,000? That means that like what percentage of Ontario is walking around wearing Bab Socks?
it's a really good. I'm not going to do any quick math up here, but
There were
we're really pleased.
375,000 pairs of beer cases across Ontario.
Yeah, so that number's a
So
little
it's heavily skewed.
Yeah, 375 of those are in Molson beer cases. You know, like
Babcock bought a bunch too, right?
Yeah, Babcock loves this, and he claims he's never worn a pair, but he hands them to everybody he knows, right? So
Can you imagine handing your own socks just to people?
Now you can wear me.
there's nothing more prestigious, like hats, shirts. Like everybody's got a hat and a shirt these days, but very rarely.
Myrtle necks.
Yeah.
Anyone would rock a myrtle neck, like long sleeve.
I think the only one that's going to buy that is my wife, I think. And even then, I don't know.
I think that makes it even cuter. Like I'm in now for sure. I don't know if that's weird.
All right. Do you guys want to talk about the Saki Hall of Fame at all? Do you have anything you want to say?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Saki Hall of Fame is exactly what it sounds like. It's the NHL's greatest players on socks. What else would it be? Myrtle was, did a story on what we're trying to accomplish with it. I mean, obviously for us, it's our business, and we're having a lot of fun with it. But also, we've teamed up with the NHL alumni, and we're happy to help their mission of supporting players who are having a harder time supporting themselves these days. I mean, it's easy to get caught up in the glitz and glamour, but there are a lot of ex-players. Whether they played in the 90s, 2000s, 70s, 80s, or 60s, there's a lot of ex-players who are struggling, and the alumni have a bold and strong and passionate mission statement to help those players. So the Saki Hall of Fame is also going to be a big part of that, with a bunch of other initiatives to assist those players to get things back on track and make their lives a little easier.
Well, guys, wait. I remember you when we met for beers in the summer. You were explaining it to me that one of the emphasis of it was that the stars weren't just like the guys who were going to take. Like they wanted to really help everyone. Can you kind of?
Yeah. So essentially, actually, when you talk about what they're doing there, it's the stars are lending. A lot of these guys could get their own sock deals, on their own if they wanted to. I don't know how much they think about it, but they could. They could have talked to us. But what they do is they lend their likenesses, the big stars, they lend their likenesses to this, so that guys who didn't, enjoy, the same luxuries that they did playing hockey, who are now retired, get to, have an easier life going forward. So it's like, everyone's chipping in, especially all the big stars are chipping in all together to make sure that there's a few extra bucks kicked back to guys who really need it, who are alumni. Guys whose names that even the savviest hockey minds in this room might not know. So they exist and they're out there.
So explain how the subscription works. This is going to be a subscription to...
So basically the way that the subscription model is going to work is you sign up for it, and once a month you're going to get a legend in the mail, and it's going to be a big surprise. And I think the unique thing about the alumni program is it's
more about celebrating the game that we love than the team that we support. So, we could walk out of here. We're all Leaf fans, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I'll admit it. Tom and I are Leaf fans. I'll admit
But you
it.
know what? I wouldn't be ashamed to walk out here with a pair of Stan Mikitas. So it's just like it's a toast to the legends, and it's the game that we all love. So I think that's what's really kind of unique about the alumni program.
So we're going to give away the first ever subscription to the Saki Hall of Fame. How are we going to give it away? How are we going to decide who gets it?
I think Jace got a cheeky question.
Yeah, so in the spirit of trivia, and
So
so
you're going to take hands and
Yeah,
just
so-
don't shout it out. Put up your
don't
hand.
shout it out. I was a Parks and Rec worker for a long time, teaching programs to children. So hands up quietly, everybody, and I will pick you at random. So the question is simple. According to the final game sheet, who got the primary assist? Who assisted? On Matt Sundin's 500th game-winning goal in overtime against Calgary. That was certainly the first hand to come up.
Steve Thomas?
I wish, because he's so cool, but it's not. The next hand I saw was right here.
Hal Gill?
Not Hal Gill. I think I don't know if he got an assist with the Maple Leafs. All right in the middle there, you got the glasses on your shirt. Not Caberlet.
God bless Thomas.
Okay, so is it just men with their arms up? I want to try to diversify this. Any ladies think they know the answer? Sorry. Oh, yeah, sorry, right there.
Alex McGillney?
No, so it's a trick question, by the way. It's a trick question.
Matt Stajan?
Nope.
Unassisted.
Unassisted. There we go. It's unassisted. Come on up.
Who yelled it out?
Someone yelled it out. Yeah, no worries. It's all good. There you go. So it's in the spirit of the Saki Hall of Fame. I just want you to unwrap it. See, tell us who you got. Let's just pick that random for you. Sorry.
Oh, it was a turnover in the neutral zone, wasn't it?
Peter Forsberg. Peter Forsberg.
All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being a long-time sponsor of the podcast. You guys are part of the reason why the podcast exists, so we thank you.
Go Leafs, go.
All right. We're happy to have out next. You know him as the former Marlies video coach, Justin Bourne.
Did I get him?
Just finish your beer, Justin, and get out of here.
Justin Bourne.
I'll go get him.
The middle, yeah.
And should we bring back Masters or no? Yes.
No.
What do you guys think? All right, Mark, you can come back. Mark?
Well, he didn't know he was going to be coming back, so.
I thought he did.
He has some idea.
No, does he?
He's dying to come back.
So. Hey! I still can't believe you got the man bee question wrong.
Whole thing's rigged. So
All right.
we're doing more trivia, right?
No. So Justin just came right from the airport, so we are very thankful that he could be here. Unfortunately, his grandmother Rose passed away, and he had to fly to Saskatoon suddenly, so he came here right from that. So
That's so important.
Thanks so
Hockey
much.
is to me.
Thanks so much for coming to us. You could have totally canceled, but we appreciate it.
Okay. It's good we have the sheet, so we know what to talk about, James. All right. Now, we'll get to Nylander. We'll get to some of that stuff.
Marley with the
soon.
best chance to make jump this
James.
season.
All right. But you can't include your boy Andreas Janssen. So
He's not even a Marley anymore, is he?
No, he doesn't count, exactly. So of like Grundstrom, Moore, Rosen, Borgman, Sparks. Actually, Sparks, should we count Sparks? I don't know.
Yeah, he's in there.
Okay, who's the most likely to play a significant role this year?
I think there's a heavy bias towards your own prospects, and you always look at your prospects and convince yourself, like, we got a good one here. I think the good ones are kind of, we've picked the good berries off the crop for the most part. Grunstrom is probably the guy for me. Well, Sparks, if we're counting him, I think he'll definitely be on the team. But Grunstrom, to me, seeing him with the Marlies, like, he's everything that Babcock loves. He'll hurt you. He'll tell you to fuck yourself. He'll score 6 goals. He's just the right amount of nasty.
He's a new Leo, right?
Yes, that's exactly it.
Better offensively, probably.
Yeah. He's got more skill around the net, better hands. There's value there in him, and if he can take that step, he's probably the most likely one to be.
But he's not going to make the team this year.
No,
Yeah,
not out of the gate. I mean, if you look at the spots, there's not spots.
One spot on D,
the center spot.
But I don't know if you guys feel the same. I could see a scenario where midway through the year, maybe there's injuries, maybe someone like maybe Ennis is not working out. I don't know. He would maybe be the guy like mid-season, like if he's having a good.
There's sort of the Dermot plan, right? Where
Kapanen, same thing.
Yep, let them have a good start and be important in the American League and get their confidence up. And if there's an injury, he to me is the next guy that'll fill that spot.
So Kyle in his press conference today again said the same thing that he's been saying for a while, that he believes that there's answers to the Leafs' problems on D with the Marlies. Is that just him being like?
Oh yeah, we didn't mention Justin Hall, which we
I didn't finish.
It's kind of real. I think Vegas changed everything. Where you kind of look at that team, and there's all these guys that Nate Schmidt, and obviously now he's suspended, but not a great example. But
William Karlsson,
tainted me.
Yeah. All these guys that haven't got a shot. And I know when I was with the Marlies, Kyle was always pushing Justin Hall to Babcock and saying, this is a guy. We have a player here. Give him a chance. He'll break the puck out. And Bab's just like, nah, he's soft. So he is soft, but he's an awesome player. Like he can, he evades players and makes a good first pass. He's effective. So I think Kyle will finally have a chance to play those type of guys, and there's a chance that they're real contributors, and he believes it.
So now that he's the GM, he isn't just like kind of the guy whispering in Babcock's ear saying, what about this, what about this? He can actually just put him on the team. Like he can decide that this is what the team is.
Yep.
But as you've seen in the past, that doesn't always work.
No. The thing is, he'll take away Babcock's toys and give him the guys that he wants, and Babs can pick between the guys that Kyle likes.
But how do you think that whole dynamic is going to work? Because I think there's going to be situations exactly like that. I think Garrett Sparks is going to be an interesting one because there are personalities, you guys have all seen this, that just don't really fit Mike Babcock. And I'm going to be fascinated to see how Kyle handles that. Like, what do you do if you think Justin Hall should be in the NHL playing for the Leafs, and your coach, who's on an 8-year contract, who's won a cup, who's won 2 Olympics, doesn't? What do you do?
That's going to be Kyle's daily battle, I think, is how do you placate Mike without letting him become the GM? You have to be the GM. You have to make the decisions and say, sorry, Mike, here's your players. So you can't say it in those words. What you have to do is make Mike think they're Mike's decisions in some way, and let him be like, what about this whole kid? He's pretty good. So, you know what, Mike, that's a good idea. Maybe we should play him more. That's his high wire act he has to do.
But I guess what he did, and you wrote about this for The Athletic, I'm sure you guys saw, he has loaded the roster with skill. So there is no Matt Martin. You don't have a choice. There's no Roman Polak. Those guys are gone. Like, he has made the roster so, like, you've got these toys to play with. You don't have the Polak toy anymore.
There will be a point where he's pushed far enough by the coaching staff that he'll have to make some decisions, because DJ Smith loves toughness. Like, he pushed to have Roman Polak around much more than Babcock. Babs loved Komarov, and Matt Martin to some extent until the end. So I think if they feel like they're getting pushed around in games, the coaching staff's not just going to sit there and be like, yeah, it's fine. Like, they're going to put some pressure on them to make some moves.
You wrote about that will team toughness hurt the Leafs? And that was kind of a controversial, that's one of your most controversial things you've written, I think.
Yeah.
Like, Leafs fans gave you some pushback on that.
Yeah, I just look at playoff hockey, and the reality is that it's mean. Like, why Andreas Janssen is so effective is because he is scared of fucking nothing. Like, he will go into the corner with your biggest guys, Zdeno Chara, whatever, and he will beat him to the puck, take the hit, and make the play. Whereas a lot of guys, they'll pull up and then they'll hit Chara and be like, "Did I do good, guys? Did that look tough?"
It's amazing that's a factor even at the highest level in the world. And these guys are making millions and millions of dollars.
Scary, man. That's the biggest thing for me is it's scary out there. Like, that's a reality. Is that at any given point you can get your head taken off, and there are a lot of guys play with the fear of I'd rather just not get my head taken off. This sounds terrible, but like the Sedins were Iron Men. They never missed a game. They didn't really get in there all that much, did they? Willie Nylander's played 82 games and 81 games. Not exactly the first guy to the puck. So these guys are Iron Men, but it's not necessarily because they're tough as nails. Some of it's because they're hesitant.
Wait, Mark wants to say something.
James, can you just move back? You're boxing me out of the...
I was going to ask what question you had next. You were next.
I'm waiting for the trivia here, I guess.
There's no more trivia.
I had so many things. Polak toy coming this Christmas. What else did I want to say? No, that was it.
Polak sock.
I wanted to say that Mike Babcock, when he was asked one of the many questions about why you like Nazem Kadri so much, he was saying it's because you see him skating towards you in the corner, you don't know what he's going to do. And you need guys like that. So I
a little crazy.
Yeah, he's like, he
needs to be a little tweaked. Those players are great.
Didn't work out in the playoffs.
Yeah, who was the Bruin that found that out?
Winkles, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't work out so well, but he did play with Janssen in the playoffs, and they looked good, and that could be the matchup line at home.
For sure it could be. They could take all the toughs and then let the other guys just roll over the rest of the team.
Right. Before James was dominating the conversation, I wanted to ask you when you were talking about the defense, today when Dubas was talking, he was asked, why don't you need a high-end defenseman? And he said it's not about getting that de facto top-end defenseman. It's about getting the defenseman that can play the way you want to play. Mm-hmm. And there's examples of recent Stanley Cup winners getting to the ultimate goal without having that de facto guy. Do you buy that as long as they play the right way or the way the system they want to play, that they can get through this?
Yeah, I do. To be honest, I think their forward group is so good that if they just have enough defensemen that can get the puck up to them, get it out of the zone, get started, and I think Riley skates it so well and can make passes, Gardner skates it so well and can make passes. Travis Dermott's great. I think he's better than people give him credit for, and I've made that case many, many times. But I think they have enough guys that can get the puck up to their forwards. And the biggest thing to me is like, let's be honest about Ron Hainsey. Like, he can't play that many minutes on the penalty kill.
Yes, he can.
Well, they're going to make him try.
And he will.
We were talking about this earlier. Ron Hainsey looked like death in that series against the Bruins. He had nothing left.
Yeah.
Well, I think it was after Game 5 in Boston where the shots, remember, they just barely hung on. He got called out. He did a smaller scrum, but he had like pizza. He was eating pizza. He's like, I need sustenance.
I just need
He was like, why do you want to talk to me? And
why do you want to talk to me?
You played 40 minutes, And I don't think he came off the ice, but he was just like, So, yeah, less minutes
that's
for
probably not a
Hainsey.
healthy game plan.
I don't know what he would look like in round 4. If that's what he looked like.
Right, yeah, like you have no chance. So he can't play, 4 minutes a night in the PK or whatever he averaged last year, almost 5, I think. It was terrible.
But it does sound like Mike, based on his comments today, is starting Riley, Hainsey, Gardner, Zaitsev, and then whoever. Well, Dermott will be that left, and then we'll see. I guess Carrick would be the favorite on the right.
I was talked into reading, it was your one-on-one with Babcock, which was fantastic. I was talked into the Zaitsev thing. Like, he convinced me.
Yeah, he made some, yeah.
And Dubas mentioned his health, right? Like, he had some issues last year.
Yes.
Illness, injuries, so screwed up his
But I guess you could see, Zaitsev's first year. Like, he gets all these points, he plays on the power play, plays lots of minutes.
Feeling good about himself.
And then, like, the second season starts, you're not on the power play, then he gets hurt, and then, like, your confidence is shattered, you're getting beat, you're getting scored on.
He said he'd never had an injury like that, right? He said he'd never been through anything like that. He was really shaken in the middle of the season when that happened. So,
and going through those tribulations might be good. I mean, probably better than anyone how much he takes it personally when he has a bad game. He used to really let it, like, remember he had that -5 night in Florida? And then that's when Mike broke them up, and he was like really down about it.
He comes out and says, "I'm terrible."
Yeah,
and not to mention the weight of the contract. Like, the sudden expectations of like it's not okay to be average anymore, and
he has to be top 4 in that contract.
Right. That's still one of the most confusing things I've seen since I've covered the team.
I
don't know
honest,
how that happened.
The time that I spent with Kyle and the Marlies and Lou, it was constantly Kyle just being like, "Don't do this. Stop. Please." And then
Lou standing in front of the door. No, you're not doing it.
And Lou gets the job in New York, and he's like, "You know who'd be good for us is a Valtteri Filppula. That's going to make a difference here." Like Kyle would have been like, "No." And now Lou doesn't have that protection, and look out.
Do you want me to consult the list for the next thing we're going to talk about, or do you just want to?
I think we should go to the. Well, go ahead.
Questions?
Yeah.
Actually,
Hurry, we're losing the room.
What's in there? Yeah.
They're grumbling. They're looking at the phone.
Actually, we were going to talk about Dubas, but I would wonder if you were coaching the team, what would you do with the defense?
That's an interesting question because, like I said, I think Hainsey should play less. I think Dermott should get more of an opportunity, and I think Connor Carrick is better than he's. You can't play a guy 12 minutes who's 24 years old or whatever and really know what he's worth. So, to me, they're good enough that they're going to win games. So I want them to experiment with the younger guys and see if they can handle more than they've.
Especially early in the year and preseason. And
Yeah.
If they just run Riley Hainsey out all preseason in the first 10 games of the year, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Would it be fair to Dermott to put him on the offside, bump him into the top four, put Hainsey on his natural side with Zaitsev maybe
Absolutely,
in a
yeah.
Well, I guess Zaitsev's going to play in the top four.
Right. Yeah,
Probably,
but Dermott
but
did play
Hainsey
on his
could drop.
offside with the Marlies.
Yeah.
Like they put him through that because they knew they weren't strong.
Not a lot, though, right?
No,
like
not
he
a
said
lot.
only a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Is that what he did?
Yeah, it wasn't a ton, but in practice it was sort of a common thing. They kind of wanted to see if he could do it, and he's got the skill set. It's fine. I think he can handle a lot.
He seemed
more.
pretty confident. Like he
Yeah.
said, he got that. He has that in his back pocket. So
Yeah.
But the point is, you could be creative. You could
Yeah.
play Riley and Carrick together. You could use Gardner and Zaitsev against top lines, and you could play Dermott with Hainsey against whoever.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's the way to go.
We'd love to take questions from the audience. So if you have questions for me or Jonas or Justin or Mark
about hockey,
we have a mic. Just flag Andrew down. There's some people in the front, Andrew. Yeah, start in the back. That's fine.
these guys in the front, we can see their faces.
The front
Look how
got free beer
disappointed.
and free socks and.
You gotta keep the guys at the front happy.
Hello? Yeah. All right, I'm here. What are we doing long term with Gardner? Like, I mean, he has a year left. He has a year
Where's
left.
security?
He has a year left, and we're like, are we extending him? Are we trading him? Like,
That's a great
what's
question.
happening?
That's a great. I mean,
Nobody's talking about Gardner, and
Yeah.
then there's a year left, and like
That's on my list of topics
He
to write about.
was one of the
Yeah.
guys who turned us down every day at the summer skates.
As he should.
I don't think he wanted to talk
Informal
about this.
skates.
One of the early things that Kyle Dubas did was start to meet with Pat Brisson, who's Jake Gardner's agent, and talk about what an extension might possibly look like. And I think they want to know what the parameters of that would be before they say, yes, this is what we want to commit to. And I'm sure from Gardner's perspective, with the points he's put up and the minutes that he's played, he wants a long-term. This is going to be like his career-defining contract. He's not going to sign a short-term or a low-money deal. So the Leafs need to decide if they're willing to sign him long-term.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if he comes to you and says, you know what, I want the Ryan Ellis deal, which was 8 by 6-ish, you're saying we can't do 8 years. But if it's like, if you were Kyle, 6 by 6, do you start to think about that? Or do you say, you know what, I've got Travis Dermott, and we're comfortable letting you go after this year, and Dermott will play in our top
So he's
four.
saying 0 by 0. Like, I think you got to look at potentially if you move him for another defenseman.
Well, that's where I'm at. So
To me, remember Game 7, eh? That was a long time ago.
I broke my TV.
Yeah.
he's the most polarizing player in the Leafs, I would say.
I would say so, right
told.
Well, the crowd is shouting at us to get rid of him for nothing.
I would say that's the biggest divide within the organization too. Is how you value Jake Gardner. I think Dubas does like him, but not that much.
But see, I disagree with the idea of trading him. You're trying to win a cup
this year.
this year. You can't trade him.
Yeah.
You don't have, like, as good as Dermott is, you take Dermott and you move him up, you're moving someone else into his spot who's not as good.
Yeah, you're right.
And depth, too, right? If someone gets hurt, we're not assuming they're just
They're
gonna
not
be
good
healthy
enough
the
on
whole
defense.
year. you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. No, it's probably one of the tougher decisions that Kyle will have to make this year. And to be honest, I don't really know how I feel about Jake Gardner because you read all the fancy stats and everyone who really pushes for him, like he skates and he makes plays and he gets points. But there are those games, right? There are just those games. There's those moments where it's like he looks like just like a Labrador Retriever. He's just dumb. Like I don't know.
Well, that's why I think that's why I think they might move on from him. Like I think they might just say, you know what, we don't want to commit to this for 6 more years.
Is anyone here concerned about how he actually might play this season? He tends to get into trouble. You think he'll just be bounced back and he won't be concerned about his future?
He's very, very steady.
When
he doesn't get excited. He doesn't get down. He's just like
he's dumb. He's just
no, that's not.
Well, when Randy Carlisle, I don't know. He's at his best when he says
no one tweet that. I mean that.
Dude, there's a live stream.
He's watching it in Niagara Falls.
This is all
with the entire team, I'm sure.
This is also being recorded and it's going to be there
posterity
forever,
purpose. But we're deleting that trivia.
I'll tighten it up.
But he
Andrew, edit that part out.
And the trivia. Yeah, he gets into trouble when he thinks too much, right? As silly as that sounds. Yeah, like when he's just his instincts. No,
I think he's the complete opposite.
All right.
Next question.
We have another question over here, guys.
We didn't answer that one. I don't know what they're going to do with Gardner.
Okay, first of all, Gardner's not dumb. He's just unique. Okay.
I agree.
This is actually for my friend who's too shy to ask the question, but too drunk, he says. Okay. What are the Leafs going to do about their breakout this year? Because last year they kind of had that half season. They were just kind of doing off the glass and out, and then it seemed like they were going with stretch passes and whatnot. So what are they going to do?
Let's ask the video coach on the stage.
One thing Babcock likes to do is play fast. You hear that in the interview? Does that come up at all?
Well, that came up today. He said basically that's exactly what he said.
Yeah, so basically the weak side winger always cuts across the ice. They want him slashing as fast as possible, and he feels like if you can just get the puck out into the neutral zone and you have a guy full head of steam, he's going to make it difficult on the opposing D. So what's interesting is that was his theory early on when they didn't particularly have the talent that they have now. They have some players who can make plays on the back end. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do with the weak side winger. If they leave him out on the weak side, like Kessel used to like that. He liked to stay on his weak side and get a pass coming across. You need defensemen who can make plays to do that. So, Babcock talked about adjusting, and maybe that's a change they'll make. But in the past, in general, it's just been like bang it off the glass and get someone going fast after it. So
even going way back to his first year with the Leafs, that's what he was trying to do.
Yeah. Well, and particularly when you don't have the horses, when you don't have the guys who can make plays.
Why do you think it looked worse than it did in the first 2 years at the beginning of the first half of last season? It just the breakouts looked brutal.
Yeah.
They had some game. Remember that game in San Jose in November, and it was just they had some games where they just got crushed.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really sure what changes there. One thing that Mike always says too is so when the other team dumps the puck in and the defensemen go back on the puck, the forwards are supposed to run interference. They're supposed to hold people up, and refs never call that. You get in front of a guy, you hold up the forecheckers and give them time. And I don't feel like the Leafs forwards were giving their defensemen enough time to go back and actually turn with the puck, get their heads up and find someone. I feel like there was someone on top of the defenseman all the time. And that's something that Babs would want to change.
Mike, in his news conference today, made reference to 3 key things they're going to focus on at training camp. And you followed up. I think he wouldn't say, but it's so funny, right? He volunteers the first one.
Yeah, which is play better defensively.
Better defensively. All right. Okay, good. But then you would follow it up, and I just wonder if that's one of them, right? And I'm sure it'll come out. He always doles it out a little bit at a time, right? I think when you followed up, he's like, I've given away too much already. You'll find out.
Why did he say there are 3 things? If you're not
I know, he does this sometimes, though. And then he's like, oh, I better pull it back.
All year we're going to be talking about the 3 things.
Oh, people will be asking about that tomorrow, I'm sure. Myself included. But
I think you should do another captaincy.
I'm following up on that for sure. Which one of the alternates will talk to the referee?
Next question?
They're both on the ice.
Is there a next question?
So many questions.
Where's the mic? Next question.
Hey guys, what do you think the plan is to replace JVR's presence in front of the net? And 36 goals is a lot to replace, and I know Tavares will be replacing that, but you do want somebody to be in front of the net to get those garbage goals. But you don't want guys like Tavares to take that abuse. So I'm just wondering what the plan there would be.
What they do on the power play is going to be very interesting because Austin Matthews has made it clear he wants to be on the first power play unit. But if you look at the players they've got, you would basically have to dismantle everything they did last year in order to give Austin Matthews the first power play unit. And it sounds like Babcock's talked about putting Tavares right in front of the net in kind of that JVR role.
But I don't think you necessarily need to replace his presence around the net. You just need to be able to score. And adding, it doesn't matter how you
So
score.
maybe it looks way different. Maybe like
Right.
you would know better than us. Like maybe the power play formation is completely a different look than what they did the last 2 years.
Yeah, the biggest thing is that I think JVR gets a ton of credit because Mitch Marner is so good. Like, he got a lot of touches in a really dangerous area of the ice, and, you know, if you put another great player there, maybe he doesn't quite score as many as JVR, but you're not going to lose more than a couple goals. You know, if Tavares is getting touches in front of the net,
Well,
that
and
JVR
Janssen's
was.
going to get 15 to 20, something like that.
I would assume, yeah. I mean, so it's going to be interesting because Jim Hiller's done a really good job with this power play the last couple of years, and I think a power play needs to be really structured. You know, I used to think initially that just have talent and let them freelance and all that, but you need some structure, and Jim Hiller's been really good at providing that, and I think they have the talent to execute whatever his vision will be.
It seems like analytics have changed power plays, haven't they? Like it seems like the data has really changed it into a funnel system where you got the 1D at the top, and then you just get as many. Like that's where Kadri, a lot of his goals are coming from, is they've moved him right into that slot area. And that was not a positioning he played before the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that's something that the Leafs have paid a lot of attention to with their analytics staff is figuring out where the goals are coming from. And certainly JVR is a talent with nice hands, but I don't think they're going to miss him as much as people think.
Well, certainly they didn't want to pay him $7 million a year to do that.
Well, yeah, that was a non-option, I think.
There's no way to keep that skeleton of that first unit together with Matthews on it? Or would that completely change the DNA of it?
No, I think that's
so what's
that's
your
possible.
what's your five then?
Well, right? You keep the three guys that were together, right? Marner, Riley,
Tavares,
Tavares comes, and Kadri in the bumper roll.
But then you got all three. You got all three of your centers on your one unit.
Yeah, that's tough. Babs would never
That
do
won't
that just
happen.
because after the power play.
So then do you
you're
just break
screwed.
that up? It feels.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough one. It'll be really interesting to watch.
I would really, I would love to be in that coach's office and just hear, the different ideas because it's no different than this, where you just go, I don't know, would this work? What do
I
you
think it would be really interesting, given where Marner is on that right side, to have Matthews on the other side and to have like that passing threat with a shot like that. I don't know.
No, that would be deadly, and that's one of the things that, again, we talked about. They're good enough to win games, without being perfect. So let's try it.
Yeah. You won't need a second unit. They'll just score.
Who's up for a question here?
I got a question. Justin, do you need another beer?
No, I'm fine.
You all right?
Thank you.
All right, okay, we got one more here.
All right, guys, for next year only, assuming that the rest of the players on your team are all league average for their position, would you rather have the Leafs three centers, so the Tavares, Matthews, and Kadri, or the Sharks defensemen with Carlson and Burns and then Blassie?
That's a pretty mean decor.
I think James Myrtle.
I think I go with what the Leafs have, just because we talked about Vegas and I think you can win in the NHL with a decor that's not. You can't win with centers that can't play.
And what's interesting is Babcock has said that too. He really liked teams that are built down the middle like that. So maybe that's their preference. But man, San Jose.
Andrew, there are a ton of questions up in the front here. These are the diehards apparently they got here early.
They're lining up.
I actually do have a bit of a queue.
Maybe they have the extra beers, or I don't know what.
I'll be making my way to the front in a second here.
Wait 1 sec while you make it up front. What were your thoughts on the trade today? It's hard not to pile on. We did it already, but what do you...
Well, that's exactly how I feel, is that it's hard not to pile on. Ottawa's such a joke.
Justin,
so bad.
I got over/under Senators' attendance, 11,000 a game.
I'm going under. They're going to claim over, but
Is this? I'm kind of hoping this Melnick video thing is a recurring. There's episodes of it.
Between two birds?
Between two sends and different jerseys. Who would be the next player? Is Boro the ultimate host, or?
And by the way, can Borowicki throw in some teeth? I've played hockey
It's his
with
turn.
chuck him in. Okay, I'm sure.
I'd watch that show, Melnick Between Two Sends. I'd watch it. I'd watch it.
Next question.
So many questions.
Hey, so given where
So given where the CBA is and it being needed to be renegotiated fairly soon, how do the Toronto Maple Leafs approach contract renegotiations, given, I mean, how many contracts there are, aside from the big three, but also address the big three?
You're good at that. But also,
It's tough because you don't know what the next CBA is going to be. So there's a big unknown factor about what's going to change. I think part of what's going to change is the term limits are going to come down. You're not going to be able to give guys 7, 8 year contracts anymore.
I love the NBA's 5-year limit.
If they bring it down to 5, so you know what's going to happen. If they bring it down to 5, stars are going to get even more. Because all of a sudden you can't give them the term. So you're going to have to give them the dollars. So what I would do if I was the Leafs is get them locked up on that term now, because the price for a Matthews and a Marner in an environment where there's a really low term limit, that's going to be problematic.
That's a great point.
But and the other thing that I would worry about with the Leafs is the expansion draft, because it really looks like the Leafs will lose a good player. What the CBA negotiations look like they're going to do is push Seattle back another year, because they don't want an expansion team coming in a year when there's a lockout. So that pushes them back a year, and the Leafs are going to be in a position where they've got so many good players. They're going to be one of the teams that loses a good player in the expansion draft, and you know that's a concern for 2 or 3 years from now.
you think we'll get another lockout? I need a lockout to get to the Australian Open, so it's the only major I'm missing. So
it could be partial season. I could see them playing 60 games or something like that.
You got to get to January.
I don't think so. I could see them missing some games, but they're not far enough apart that it's going to be a whole. They're not going to miss a whole year over. There's nothing that they're that upset about.
All right, over here.
Slam, yeah. We'll get to Melbourne one day.
All right, guys. First of all, I want to praise the Athletic. I love the site, and Justin.
Awesome.
Justin, especially, there was an article you wrote about Jake Gardiner at the end of the playoffs, which really level-headed set where, you know, a guy here's who he is. He's got the good and the bad. I think that goes to a lot of Toronto sports where we throw guys under the bus, but they are who they are. Anyways, my question that I want to bring up, obviously with the defense being what it is, outside of that, where's the biggest weakness you see on our team, and what could derail this? Obviously, we've got such a high for it. What could be the thing that undercuts that for the year?
I think that having lost 3, NHLers this offseason, the depth is challenged now. I don't see that if there's injuries, that there's enough people to step in and really keep the things moving forward. If they're 2 important players in particular. Obviously, the top end talent is extreme, but it used to be that they were like deep down to like 18 forwards or whatever, and that's not the case anymore.
Well, an example of that, sorry, James, would be if one center got hurt, suddenly we'd be looking around and being like, who's going to be the other center?
Even like the 4C is like
even that. It's like
who's that guy? So yeah, definitely if they lose a center or 2,
it's weird they didn't try and address that. Like, there's no one to even challenge Par Lindholm, who we have no idea if he can play or not.
Yeah, it is a curious thing, and I feel like, Kyle's got something up his sleeve. I know when we were, when I was at the Marlies, when we had a weakness, he generally had a plan. But, it's not like he's oblivious to it, I'm sure, so I'm curious to know what that is.
Someone has to stand up for Frederick Gauthier here.
Wow.
Go ahead.
I am sick of this. No, I have nothing.
So what's interesting is
Par Lindholm.
Freddie's like, he can skate and he's huge and he'll do the right things and all that, and he just doesn't want to be a hockey player. That's the truth. He doesn't care. He just doesn't care.
He doesn't. Loves puzzles.
Loves his puzzles.
Next question.
Hey guys. Mark, I love you on TSN.
Thank you. Finally, this is the athletic break. Love fest here. Canada's sports leader. Anyway, thank you. Thank you. What's your question?
So I got 2 questions. One, just quickly, do you think Bracco and Liljegren could be a Dermot this year, like being called up in March? Like if the Liljegren develops and Bracco just tears the AHL apart, which I think he will, because I am a Jeremy Bracco fanboy. I saw him when he played in Windsor. I met his parents, and I've been a Bracco fanboy. But my second question is about the Leafs and the contracts. Do you think in the next CBA the Leafs will be really pushing hard for a luxury tax? Because as a Leaf fan, it sucks that we have to talk about this, and I wish we can give Matthews $15 million. I wish we can give Nylander $8 million.
It won't happen. Bettman will never let a luxury tax come in.
But do you think why no? Like the NBA has it, and the NBA is amazing. So why can't they?
But the question is,
Bettman's all about the cost certainty and the hard cap. That was they lost a whole year for that.
Let him just finish his question here.
My question.
Let him talk.
Yeah. is that if the league woke up tomorrow, if Gary Bettman woke up tomorrow and said, you know what, no more cap, does that kill Carolina? Does that kill Columbus? Like, if I'm the Leafs, like, I don't want a cap. Like, but why? If I'm a Leaf fan, why the hell do I care about the Carolina Hurricanes?
Leafs fans shouldn't want a cap, but the commissioner does, and most of the owners do. So the cap's not going anywhere.
He's so blatantly, like, he just works for the owners, right? Like, everyone has to be happy, and that's his job. I'm with you. I certainly don't want to cap myself.
The first question was Bracco and Liljegren. I think both of those guys need to have really big years in the AHL. They need to be big contributors on a Marlies team. Like the Marlies, I know I've talked to Scott Wheeler about this. He thinks the Marlies might not be that good this year. And for them to be good, they need guys like that to step up and play big minutes. And that's talking to Liljegren at the rookie camp. He said, I want to be a big piece on this team and not just like a third pair D that is like sitting some games.
And Sheldon Keefe said that they're going to put him in a position that, all right, show us.
PK, PP, you know, big minutes at even strength. Let's see what you can do. I mean, he was 18 years old last year. I mean, no one plays in the AHL at 18 years old. But I don't think either of those guys is going to play in the NHL. Like maybe a couple of games, but I highly doubt it. They're not ready yet.
Yeah, I think Liljegren has he has a career ahead of him. He's going to be
he'll be in the NHL for sure.
But I'm not even 100% sold on Bracco. He's interesting. He's really, I know you're a fan of his, but he's very, he's thought. I don't want to say anything too negative.
We're streaming.
He is a talent.
You got some challenges ahead of him?
He's just small and he's slight and he's hesitant to get into the dangerous areas and there are some very large humans that play in the NHL and it's tough for me to see a situation where he's a top 6 player in the NHL because I don't.
He has to light up the AHL.
Light it up
like this year.
Yes,
like he's got to step up. I think that guys in the AHL, if they're going to be NHL players, they got to be point a game guys when they're 20-21. That's you have to be.
Yeah, no,
especially
I
a small
disagree.
skilled guy.
Yeah, and he certainly has those skills. It's just really hard when you're that small. You have to be so exceptional. And again, he's not short. He's just very slight. So I'll be interested myself to see how he does.
If Liljegren continues to develop the way he seems to be trending, you see him in the NHL next season?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think, and Kyle is the type of guy who would love to have someone like that on his team. So, yeah, he's a good fit.
Next question over here.
Awesome. This is Jeff. Being that the Buds are definitely going to be all day this year, do you think the parade's going to go up Young and then down Bay? Or do you think it's going to go up? That's obviously an important question.
Let's wait and see if they win the first preseason game, and then we'll have a better idea. Then we can get into that.
Mark will be there to tell us all about it.
Jonas is going.
No, but my question kind of does relate to that. Like, I think my position would be that in the past few years, it's been a bit of a honeymoon stage, and we've seen Carlson and Pacioretty just go to markets where it's much quieter than wherever they were. So I'm really interested in whether or not you guys think the pressure that's going to be on the team this year will have not a measurable impact necessarily, but a very meaningful one, because the expectations now versus even last year are significantly higher. So what impact does that have? What
If they struggle, it's going to be tough. Yeah, I think there are real expectations now, and they've lost in the first round 2 years in a row. The expectation is that there's a step that comes here, and that's not necessarily that they win. It's just that they've got to take the step into the upper echelon.
But I think what we as media and fans have to remember is like a 4-game losing streak in December. It doesn't really matter that much.
You should see the headlines on SportsCenter.
I know.
Struggling Leafs face must-break moment.
And it doesn't.
Game 10 in Carolina.
TSN 4.
Only on the Quattro.
On the Quattro.
Is this a must-win?
Talk to your cable provider now.
You were saying, Jordan?
Ultimately, like once you get to April, playoffs start, nobody remembers the 4-game losing streak in December. Like it all.
I'm not talking 4-game losing streak. I'm saying like, what if they're like scuffling along and they're not?
What's scuffling?
Like they're among the wild card teams after 2 months.
Are you gonna panic? Are you gonna write some panic?
No, but I think that the pressure.
Is it time to panic? That would be a headline you see.
The pressure, what he's talking about, is going to intensify on them more than it has over the last 3 or 4 years.
I've written several times that I very much believe that seasons snowball. Like, if you get off to a good start or a bad start, when people start feeling good and we're all, everyone's buddy-buddy, or you start feeling bad and you start pointing fingers and blaming each other. I think the start to their season is very important this year, and I think the first 15, 20 games will kind of dictate where they end up.
Do you think those players at the media tour on the other teams were knew what they were doing when they're saying that Toronto's the Stanley Cup contender, or you think they were like just legitimately giving straight
That's
answers?
so
Are they
dumb. That
filling
was
the
like
beat?
10 players, 12
David
players.
says Leafs are going to win the cup. Yeah.
So stupid.
Well, but coaches always go to press conferences like before a playoff series, and they're like, "Wow, boy, it's going to be tough to beat this team. They're obviously the favorite. We hope we can just win a game, and like they really try to set the stage, and it's for a reason.
They should just go full Trump and just say this team is a joke. We're gonna watch
That's
all
all
lose.
Sad with that defense.
Maybe Lou will do that.
Mike is really good.
Well, they're not going to be in the playoffs. So
Mike has been really good at controlling the message to a degree, right? We made light of that unfortunate situation with my wife on the airplane, but he really did admit that was a ploy, like because they had just got hammered in Chicago, and I was ready to grill him about it, but then the story became me, so I was happy to go that way.
Just with a warm towel in your face and a warmed up
it was
cookie.
so good. I can't tell you. Great flight.
We're back on this again.
Yeah. No. Anyway, but he's very good at controlling the message, right? Like when they have a bad loss, he's been usually pretty good. He can rein
don't
it
take
in.
the bait. That's the message.
I love the bait though. It's so good. I love that.
We do one more question,
I just
Andrew?
want to say about that question about the parade in the Light Wiki area. That would have been a legitimate question. Remember? First
He had it planned out.
He had it planned out. That was anyway. Not
going, guys?
necessarily a bad question.
I know we touched on this a couple of podcasts, or you guys touched on it a couple of podcasts ago. Jonas obviously on the side of keeping Gardner for a run, which I understand. We kept JVR for a run too, and he got us 4 points. Whereas at the trade deadline, guys like Hartman, Ryan, and Stastny each fetched a first, a fourth, and a prospect. And debatably, how much of a downstep would have been to have replaced JVR with a Andreas Johnson, or for an upcoming season, replacing Gardner, for instance, with a Borgman or a Calle Rosen, when they could also have another first, fourth, and a prospect, making their prospect pool look a lot better than it is right now.
They're at the point now they can't trade for picks and prospects. Like this is like they're in the win now window. Like this is if you're trading Gardner, you're trying to get a piece that's going to help you.
The biggest thing to me is Washington. Washington finished what, 7th this year? Like
They were tied with they were
the
6
Leafs.
and the Leafs were
Yeah,
7.
yeah, and so like there's a grouping of teams who can win every year, and I think every year you're in that group, I think you got to take a
You
swing.
can't subtract a big piece.
Well, we've
Yeah.
seen teams do it. Like St. Louis did it with Shattenkirk. Didn't work out.
By the way,
no,
I
St.
think
Louis,
that's pathetic.
and then they did it with Stastny too, right?
Yes, exactly.
Back-to-back years.
That's goofy.
And now
Though.
they look
Like, what are they doing?
Are you trying to win the cup or what? Trying to sell tickets? You're trying
It's
to win
a
a cup?
very
but-
Belichick move, though. It's like we can replace you,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah, but they couldn't. So, yeah.
So Leafs are in a group that can win the cup this year. Who else is in that group?
Tampa, Nashville.
Everyone in their division who isn't awful.
Right. And then is San Jose now in that mix?
Yeah,
Or were
probably.
they maybe even already?
Probably.
And Vegas. Winnipeg, Nashville,
Winnipeg,
and
yeah,
Central.
yeah.
So there's 4, 7, 9.
Washington's
with
probably
Pittsburgh,
still
Washington.
there.
Yeah, so
Yep.
9 teams. Still,
Yep.
Anyway.
James, anything else you want to say before we wrap up
This
the podcast?
was awesome. This was fantastic. So we're going to do more of these shows because it was so successful. Thank you so much for coming. Check out the Saki Hall of Fame. Thank you to Justin and Mark for being part of the first one.
Thank you.
Caribou.
And so the next one is scheduled right now for February 7th, but I think we might do another
Wasn't there one in
before.
November?
Potentially.
Let's do it next week.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I don't know that you're going to be.
Thank you for the
I
support.
won't be invited back.
Thank you for supporting the Athletic. It's been fantastic. So
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good night.